tell me a little bit more about your background in art.
Um, I mean, I think I've always been an artist. In the younger years, I spent a lot of time in nature, school library, and things like that. And I always loved to draw. And I mean, at one point, all of us drew, all of us painted, and I just kept going with it. And when I graduated from high school, I didn't go right to college. I went to work. And after a year of working different types of jobs, I knew I'm not sure what I want to do, but I know it's not this. So I applied for school. I was going to go to Drake, but then someone mentioned a four-year university, Alabama A&M University. And I applied and went in to, get situated. I'm sitting there, still having no idea what to major in. And the guy next to me said undecided. And I didn't like the way that sounded. So I said, I knew I was pretty good at art, so I said art. And once I got in it, I think it was my sophomore year, end of my sophomore year, I started getting a little bored. And I tried to talk to one of my professors, Bill Nance, about possibly changing my major. And he said, please, you're like a duck in water. And he walked out of the room. And so I've been on this path ever since.
And since you've kind of started the path, walk me through where you've gone since your days at Alabama A&M.
Oh, wow. You're asking for a book now. So let me see. I did freelance art for a while. And then I ended up working with Boys and Girls Club. I was the arts director at the main club. And then I ended up getting my own club. I moved to Pennsylvania, did artwork up there, got a chance to work with the, what's that group? Groups like Groundswell out of Brooklyn, New York, Maps out of Philadelphia, muralists like Josh Titus, and Chicago. I was the ambassador of art to South America twice, 2014, 2012. I've taught art from kindergarten to college, and I guess does that give you pretty much a broad scope of it? Yes.
And I want to bring you back, in in those starting moments, where did the inspiration lie with art?
Um, it's a challenging question. I always found that going to the school library, I think it's rooted in stories. I think being from the South, I'm probably a natural storyteller. And for me, art is a way of telling a story without the words, although I write as well. But art is a way of telling stories because it's whether you speak the language or not, it's universal. You don't have to speak a particular language to understand art because I think it's soul speak.
What type of stories do you tell with your art?
I think my work is rooted. It comes in. If you think about a crossroads, so crossroads of art, ancestry, access, and animism, and alchemy. I think those are the crossroads. And if you think about it as a building, the pillars would be probably remembrance, resurrection, redemption, and restoration. So that's my inspiration. By doing what I do, I want to let people know that you'll never live to your fullest potential unless you're doing that thing that's in you to do. And my thing is, if I stoke my fire hot enough, it'll warm others and inspire them to do the same.
I love that, Fern. That's a great answer, and I want to dive into that more. Where you talk about these pillars, is that something that's going through your mind every time you start a new piece?
Actually, I think after a while, the mind becomes the mind becomes the thing getting towed, not the thing doing the work. I think at a point it's more heart and spirit than anything. It's almost like I don't think a bird thinks about flying; it just flies. A lion doesn't think about hunting; it just hunts. So when pieces come to me, I feel like I'm more of a channel, a venue for them to come through. What the mind does, I think, is to help organize those parts into the finished piece.
Can you tell me how much those styles mean to you, especially where you are right now in your career?
Um, I think it's morphed into the I guess the perfect machine. And I use the word perfect in quotes because now using the red clay the way that I use paint or whatever else, it seems to have the voice. Finally, it's having the voice that I've wanted to have. I'm hitting that note, hitting those notes, because I can see the resonance in those who purchase my work, those who are influenced by my work or touched by it, and myself. I think the most important thing may be what I become as I create the work.
I want to dive into those art styles. You mentioned the red clay art.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that quickly?
Oh, wow. Well, red clay, it's the stuff of my childhood. I grew up, it stained our clothes, it stained our shoes. We made mud pies with it, we made balls with it, and we threw them at each other. It was always there, always the background. And it wasn't until my senior year in undergrad, a professor, Dr. Regina Colston, said to me that your success is inevitable because this Alabama red clay is rich with the blood of your ancestors. And that resonated with me then, but it didn't kick in until later. I moved to Pennsylvania. When I first drove up there was red clay on the car. Everybody was fascinated by it. And it wasn't until I left Alabama that I began to appreciate Alabama. And the red clay sort of took center stage, I would say, probably back in 2020. Right before that, I had gone to a place called Stove House when they were getting it ready. They were working on it, and they invited me over to look at the space for some murals. And we walked beneath this awning that probably hadn't seen rain for 100+ years. And so I'm walking through there, and this dust is just rising up around us like spirits. And I asked the guy, I said, can I take some of this? He said, yeah, take all you can. And so I got a container, and I filled it up, and I took it back to my classroom. And so it was sitting on my desk, and at some point I took it out and I rubbed it on paper with some water. I liked what it looked like. It seemed to sort of flow out of the paper, out of the brush. And so once I did that, I did these abstract pieces, and my students started commenting on those pieces. So I took 2 of them and I framed them. And then when I opened up the studio, I brought them in here and I just stuck them on the wall. Well, before that, they hung in the house in a sunspot. And they didn't fade, they were just there. And then I brought them here to the studio just to put on the wall. And I had a walk through, a studio visit. I think it was Leadership Huntsville and another group came through. And a group of ladies saw the red clay pieces, and they didn't fight over them, but they struggled to attain them. And I ended up selling both pieces. And there was a third one somewhere, I just wasn't sure what it was. And they bought those pieces, and the lady from Harrison Brothers gave me a call about a week later, and she said, do you have any more of those red clay pieces? And I said, no, but I can create some more. And she said, yeah, we need more. So I think that week I did like 4 trees. I call it the Southern Trees series. And I took them in on Friday morning. She called back that afternoon and said, well, can we get more? And they were rolling. The red clay pieces were rolling. And after a while, I started feeling gimmicky, so I pulled back on that series. I did another series that traveled to Gaston, to Decatur, and different places. And then from then on, it just felt right. My daughter was in Alaska at the time, and I called her and I told her I was actually painting with red clay. She said, Daddy, that's perfect. That's you, because you've always loved red clay anyway. And when you think about it, the essence of the clay, 102 minerals in the earth, the 102 minerals in our body, what makes it red is the iron oxide, our blood, the red in our blood. It literally is like painting with a living substance. Because truly, if you think about this, especially the southern ground, it's probably soaked with the blood of our ancestors.
Blood of your ancestors. So really, it really is just a full tribute.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, fully.
Would you say that's probably one of your most successful kind of discoveries with the red clay?
I think so. It's probably the most, one of the most fulfilling.
Fulfilling.
Yes. Yeah.
What does that mean to you, to be able to have that fulfillment?
It feels like home. It feels like I found a place where it's almost like when Tupac said, in my heart I couldn't find a place to rest until I got that thug life tatted on my chest. So for me, it's like when I found that red clay. But also, a companion to that is and I'm dipping over here, are the gold line pieces. Because they share the same origin, I think. I was doing a lot of searching for my ancestry, and I kept running into the enslavers. And I thought how unfair, that I had to end up there rather than I can't go back any further because everything like before that was pretty much wiped out in terms of the individual family line. But this is what came to me when I thought about the idea of Afrofuturism. You know, I can't change my past, you know, what came before me, but I do have the ability to choose my future. And so whatever was there leading up to where I'm going is one single line, our lives are. But that line meanders and goes and changes in different directions, and that's what creates the essence of who we are. If you look at a guy who's homeless, he still has that line, that life running through him, or the guy who's a multi-billionaire, they still have the line running through them. So I call that line goal mapping, that style. I call it goal mapping because it traces the intrinsic line or value through a person that we don't readily see until we get close enough and we get a chance to see that roadmap. So to me, that's part of that intrinsic value that everyone has, you know, created sacred with an inalienable right to greatness.
So when you say goal lining, like these paintings up here are goal lining, basically.
Yeah, that's a goal mapping, yes. And
goal mapping.
yeah, and sometimes I use a black line, but it is generally one line that runs through the entire piece. When you look at from beginning to end is one line. And someone says, well, how do you keep up with it? Well, you don't think about the beginning lines or the end lines. You only think about the line where you are in that particular moment, the spot. It's pretty much like our lives. You know, we don't spend time just focusing on our past because we can't live in it. And our future, we can plan for it. We can't live in that either. All we have in reality is the now. So that's how that works. I'm right where I am is where I am in the piece.
I wanna read you a line that I saw on your about page on your website that I find very interesting. It reads, his work grapples with this duality, the double conscientiousness of the black body as both metaphor and mystery.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Can you break down that line?
Yeah, when you think about, I think I use a lot of metaphors. Someone told me that years ago. I use a lot of metaphors. And in doing that, when you think about the idea of the black body, you think about chattel slavery, but you also think about the vastness. You think about the idea of dark matter. You think about the idea of space, the darkness of that. When you close your eyes, it's dark. But in that darkness, though, is the essence of all creativity. In that dark matter, in that mystery, lies so many things that they're still figuring out even today. So for me, when you deal with the duality of it, on one hand, it's pretty much nuanced and flattened, but on the other hand, it's so complex they can't figure it out. And the only way to deal with it, in essence, is to try to control and subdue it. So my work is not about pointing out the negatives. At one point it was, but it's not about pointing out the negatives. It's about operating in the space where you can live and live fully, despite the quote unquote white gaze.
It's that fulfillment.
Yes.
Basically,
Yeah. Goes beyond that. It means I'm not doing this because you're watching me. I'm not doing this because when you deal with the idea of double consciousness, of course that came about with W.E.B. Du Bois, where you live like this on the one hand, but in the face of society of the white gaze, you have to present another face. And my thing is, I want to, in my work, pull those two faces together and contend with that duality and make them one. Because in essence, although there are many facets of who we are, it's still just one.
And creating that wholeness.
Yes, yes.
It's a great way of putting it. We talked a lot about the specifics. What other artworks do you work on? I see a whole lot of different stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
So what else do you kind of work on?
Well, my initial degree was graphic design, commercial art. So I did a lot of stuff like that. But for me, the idea, and the younger artists always ask me, well, how did you develop your style? And you know, being I would say a student of Bruce Lee, but recognizing and honoring Bruce Lee, you know, ultimately I want to get to the style of no style, to where it's not this or that, it just is, and it resonates in somebody's heart. I don't want it to necessarily be categorized over here or categorized over there, but something that just is because of its power and its ability to connect to the human spirit.
You said you've taught from K through 12. You
Yes.
spent a lot of time with students and stuff.
Yes.
Do you do anything with students now?
Well, yeah, I still advise. I do a lot of advising now. And I use that word carefully. I do a lot of sharing. Students are reaching out. Like I said, someone reached out to me a few weeks ago about the idea of style. And I said, well, right now, I spend a lot of time looking for a style, looking for what hit the market. And it wasn't until I had a long conversation with the artist out of Chicago, Theaster Gates, also Colleen Smith. They told me about the idea of story. You know, what's your story? What's unique about you? And when you want to create something, when you want to be original, you're what you have, because nobody's walked your path, nobody's lived your life but you. So if you want to create something truly original, bring that from your story. You be the narrator of that, and pretty much put that into your craft, your art.
Is that the message that you would have for your students as well, and people that reach out to you?
Yeah, what's your story? Speak from your truth. I mean, when you think about music or any realm per se, when a person comes from their truth, you know, what comes from the heart reaches the heart. It's going to touch somebody else. And that's the only way you're truly authentic, is to come from your own truth.
And that authenticity brings uniqueness, basically.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because you're not, there's only one you. You know, you may have a doppelganger somewhere, but it's it's not you.
I haven't run into them yet. Some people say I look like Josh Peck.
There you go.
I have no other questions. Is there anything else you would like to add today?
That's it for the most part. I think that you know, people look at art as being this kind of elitist thing, and it's been my intention, not necessarily since I've started, before a long time, to take art from the hands of the gods, like Prometheus, and put it back in the hands of the people, because that's where it is, that's where it belongs, and in truth, that's where it starts. You know, works selling for, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. That's all fine, well, and good. But at the same time, I want to make sure and find ways to keep that art accessible to everyday people. And that's why to work with children, to see children get excited about art, to me, that's one of the purest forms. And in that, it's not just something you do, it's something you become, because art, in essence, for me, is an acronym for a resurrecting truth. And whatever that truth is that brings you alive, that makes you want to get up and moves you forward, that's your truth, and that's your art.
And also, you know, you see those kids. You were in their shoes at
Yeah.
one point too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
every like you said, everybody does art, so it kind of just is a full circle.
Exactly. I simply want to be what I needed to see. Because you may have an idea about something, but until you can name that thing, you know, like what'd that do? You know, the idea of, you know, as a child I'm drawing, but I don't know what an artist is. I don't know, can you make a living doing this? Can you do this as a career? It would have been nice to have seen someone or met someone who says, yes, it's possible. And I think that's what children need to see, or not just children, but people need to see. Because when you do it, you give them permission. You know, you have some child who's, you know, who talks all the time, like my daughter. To actually, to meet somebody like you can literally open the door to the possibilities of what can be. So.
And where can people find you?
Where can they find me? Right here. No, this is actually, this is my studio. I'm here. I call it the church. Come help us restore cosmic harmony. It's another acronym. And they can get me at my website at www.JahniTheArtist, JAHNI, theartist.com.